about the key issue at play right now, because of course we had the virtual President Biden, President Xi Jinping summit, and of course given these tensions we have seen the collateral damage in neighboring countries. Does this lower the temperature for you?
It does a little. We've just come off the back of APEC. We've chaired APEC this year. It's been a big challenge. It's a virtual forum. It's been very successful, and I think it's allowed the economies to come together, discuss the big challenge, of course, that is COVID, but also referring to climate change. And as we're seeing internationally, one first, then the second one, and COP, of course, has just reminded us all that we've got some big challenges to go ahead, and if we ignore them, we'll face big risks to all the economies and our people throughout the world.
We have seen China applying to join the key regional trade deal, the CPTPP. What are your expectations on this front?
All the members of CPTPP are clear. Anyone wanting to join will have to meet the high standards that we battled for and achieved through that agreement. It's a very valuable agreement. We have UK, of course, that has applied, and the process is underway for them. The members have not yet met to decide on the two, of course, accession requests from China and from China Taipei. And so we just have to work through that process very, very carefully, objectively. But at the moment, I think everyone's focused on the UK and making sure we get that process right for those that will follow.
How long will that process take? And tell us a little bit more about the dynamic between China and Taiwan as well in the application process.
Look, now dealt with separately. At the moment, Japan is the chair. We're the depository, so we receive the requests, we pass them on, the members meet and then decide whether they should undertake the process. They have decided yes for the UK. That meeting hasn't taken place for the other two requests, and they'll be dealt with independently and objectively. And indeed, if CPTPP is to remain a high-value agreement, then everyone will have to meet the standards that we've set.
You mentioned these high standards, but at the same time, the way that China has been moving, whether it's domestically or in its relationship with the U.S., we have seen them perhaps moving further away from the spirit of CPTPP. How do you reconcile that?
Well, look, we can't make a judgment on what is the spirit. What we will be looking for is the technical requirements to meet it. That's been clear in the discussions that CPTPP members have had, and we'll follow through on that. So the process must be fair to all aspirants, fair to the UK, fair to China and to Chinese Taipei when the decision to look at those requests is made.
Australia needs to agree to anyone joining the CPTPP. You're headed there after Singapore. What are you expecting on that front?
Look, I think Australia too, values CPTPP and its high standards. Clearly, there's some tensions there. It's for Australia and China to work through. We've always, as a country, New Zealand, been open to more members. We think it's a valuable agreement, and the more that want to participate, the better for us.
Do you expect a positive outcome there?
For the UK?
For China and Australia?
Look, we hope. It's for them to work through, and clearly both major trading partners of ours, Australia's number one, China number two, we want them both to work together so that we don't get caught in the crossfire of tensions that still exist.
I was going to say, how do you navigate that?
We're always upfront and honest. We're a small player, 5 million people. We export food. A big portion of that goes into the China's market, but Australia too are our friends and neighbours, and so we want to be upfront with both of those major partners, but we will raise from time to time issues that come up that we don't agree with.
You've mentioned the UK, you're headed to Europe after heading to Australia. What are your expectations in trade relations there? How significant is this?
The EU is very important. It's been a traditional market, and of course when Britain's been part of the EU, then we've had traditional commitments and access. We've had to renegotiate with the UK. That process has gone well so far, and we've got an agreement in principle principle. We'd like to move through to agreement in principle with the EU, but clearly there's a number of member states there with slightly different objectives. But overall, I think they're enthusiastic to have an agreement with a country like ours that has high standards around animal welfare, respects geographical indicators, aspires to lower emissions, and human rights. So all of those things are shared values that we have with most of our trading partners.
All of these trading partners, of course, have suffered through supply chain disruptions. As a trade minister, when do you see this easing?
Not in the short term. All the indications we have is that it will flow right through into beyond the middle of next year. We're a nation way down in the Pacific. We rely on supply chains for everything that we bring in and anything we sell. There's no easy option for us. So we keep a close eye on it. We make sure that our ports run efficiently, that we look after the shipping companies so that there's no undue delays. Digitisation of our systems is really important, and that's where we'd like to work with other partners, trade partners, to make trade efficient.
What do you expect for 2022?
Hopefully better than 2021. We've been lucky, and we've survived. Our economy hasn't been too hard hit, but there are big challenges ahead. Firstly, to ensure that as many people in the world get the vaccine, to protect them and to protect their economies and their countries and societies. So vaccine rollout will be, for the next 12 months, probably the biggest single focus.
Of course, we love having you here in Singapore, but it's not been the case necessarily with other people in New Zealand. The restrictions have been very stringent. What do you expect on the restrictions front? Of course, tourism is such a key sector for the New Zealand economy.
Look, it got to be almost number one alongside dairy, and it's been hard hit. We'd like to open the borders, but we've got a health system that's quite, it's not huge, and so we have to make sure that people who come to our country and people who live in our country can be safe. And if they're affected by COVID, if they're infected, or if they have another accident, that our health system can look after them. So we'll remain focused on that, but we are easing restrictions, making sure that people who are double vaccinated, who can be tested maybe before they board, can come into New Zealand with minimum requirements and enjoy our wonderful country.